Well, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for making some time to come over for our lecture. Uh, we are very fortunate to have Professor John Duncan with us today. Professor Duncan is in a tour promoting Korean studies in Latin America, and this tour is only for Mexico. He has been already in Argentina, Chile, Brazil, and from in South America. And this tour is only for Mexico. After being in Mexico City, he's going to Guadalajara, Colima, and Monterrey. Sorry. And he's making this tour to promote Korean studies, and also to share his thoughts and some research work and on his field of interest, which is Confucianism. His main interests have been Korean pre-modern history, especially cultural and social history, and also interested in intellectual history, especially in Korea, I think the Choson era. So Professor Duncan, he's a historian. He made his undergrad in the Korea University in Korea Daehakyo, and his master's in the University of Hawaii, and he has a PhD in the University of Washington in Seattle. And his CV is quite long. So I think I'm going to just introduce Professor Duncan with this kind of thing. He has produced quite a number of articles and research papers, and I might have something maybe more recent, but he wrote this book who inspired the title of this conference, Rethinking Confucianism, edited with other of his colleagues, historians as well. I have this book, so I may, if someone is interested, you can sometime check it out later, and hopefully we can have a copy in our library. Maybe we already have.
There's a copy in the library.
Is there?
The one I got in LA, you gave it.
Brilliant. Okay, so now this book is in this library, so that's good news. If anyone is interested, so I'm not taking more time, and just welcome, and we're very happy to have you here. Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you, Juan, for the very kind introduction. I'm not sure I can live up to all of that.
I'm sure you will.
But certainly, it's my pleasure to be here in Mexico and to be at Colegio de Mexico. My Spanish is very poor. I'm sorry, so I will have to speak in English today. I've been asked to talk about the title of that book, Rethinking Confucianism in China, Japan, and Korea. I thank you for leaving out Vietnam. It's a very broad topic, and I'm not sure I can do it justice. But what I will do is I will sort of lay out what I think are some important themes. And then after I'm finished with my discussion, I'm certainly be happy to answer any questions you have. I'd also be very happy to spend some time talking about some more specific issues, questions such as Confucian democracy, Confucian capitalism, those kinds of things. So let me get started. If we're talking about rethinking Confucianism, we have to recognize first that Confucianism has already been rethought many times in Asia throughout history. We have, of course, the early Confucianism of Confucius, Mencius, Xunzi, and others. We have the imperial Confucianism of the Han Dynasty. We have the Chengju learning, or Neo-Confucianism, of the Song period and later. Then we have the evidential learning, or practical learning, as it's called in Korea and Japan, of the late imperial period. And so, on the occasion of major historical changes in China and East Asia, people there, thinkers there, rethought Confucianism, reformulated Confucianism to respond to the new questions with which they were dealing. And I think we will find that that's true in the 20th century as well. I'm going to focus mostly on how Asian thinkers have rethought Confucianism over the last 120 or 130, maybe 150 years. But I will occasionally mention Western thinkers. And of course, we have to start with the European Enlightenment. This was certainly the first thinking of Confucianism in the West, when people like Voltaire and Spengler and others held up Confucianism in China as a model for European development. So the initial European impression of Confucianism was quite positive. That changes. It gets worse, gets better. It pretty much follows the same trajectory as the way that Asian thinkers in China, Korea, and Japan have rethought Confucianism. Today I will focus on what I think are three major moments in the rethinking of Confucianism over the last 150 or 160 years. I will look at how Confucianism was evaluated, or re-evaluated, in the context of major social change. And I will have as a sort of underlying theme the question of whether or not we can think of Confucianism as representing a kind of essence of the East. So let me begin with the age of imperialism. And this is roughly the 19th century, particularly the second half of the 19th century. As you all know, this was a time of the eruption of Western imperialism in East Asia. The Opium War, of course, was a very important early moment in this, but then there was a second Opium War, the Arrow War, and there was Commodore Perry's opening of Japan, and the carving up of China into spheres of influence, the colonization of Vietnam. All of these things came as a huge shock to the people of East Asia. And they begin to ponder, why is it that the West is so strong? Or more importantly for our purposes, why is it that we are so weak, we who had been so powerful? And so we saw rejections of Confucianism, of the Confucian tradition, in various countries. It starts in Japan in the 1860s and the 1870s with the Meiji Restoration.